challenge yourself that in my next one-on-one, instead of defaulting to giving advice, I'm just going to ask a question or I'm going to ask a follow-up question. And it's these small tune-ups or small changes that you can make that will allow you to become a better leader today, not someday.
That's Ollie Merchant. He has over 2 decades of experience in learning and development and brings that expertise to his leadership development firm, All In Manager. Since 2018, he's coached thousands of managers and senior leaders, and now he shares much of that great wisdom in his book, The All In Manager, Becoming a Better Leader Today, Not Someday. And most importantly, he's a longtime listener of the show, so you know he's a cool dude. So you'll learn 1, how to make difficult conversations easier. 2, the 3 things exceptional managers do. And 3, how to upgrade your one-on-ones with a great key question. And if you'd like a quick summary write-up of the actionable wisdom that Ali shares here, I recommend you sign up for the free Gold Nugget email newsletter found at awesomeatyourjob.com. I'm Pete Mockaitis. This is How to Be Awesome at Your Job. And now, here's Ollie. Ali, welcome.
I'm grateful to be here. Thank you, Pete.
Well, I am grateful to have you here. In preparing, I noticed that you signed up for the email list in 2017. So you are a legit fan of How to Be Awesome at Your Job, and I'm legit excited to have you here.
I'm beaming here. I have a big smile. And before we started recording, I was telling Pete that I would listen to this incredible podcast in 2018 on the train in a cold Chicago winter, thinking that maybe I would turn up here. So it took me 7 years, but I am super grateful that we're doing this today.
Well, me too. Well, you've got a great book here, The All In Manager, Become a Better Leader Today, Not Someday. So I'd love to start with any particularly surprising, fascinating discoveries you've made about effective management from your years of researching and putting this book together.
Difficult conversations do not ruin relationships. Avoiding difficult conversations typically tends to ruin a relationship between a manager and an employee, which was fascinating to me because I don't know about you, but I've avoided a lot of difficult conversations in my life.
Well, that's really beautiful in terms of, we think about the avoidance of difficult conversations, that's mostly driven by fear, emotional resistance. And then you're saying, well, au contraire, we can flip the risk profile on its head. You're more likely to lose by avoiding the conversation than by engaging in the conversation.
Yeah. And in the book, I talk about this idea, and let's see if you can relate to this. When it comes to having a difficult conversation, what I find is all of us are kind of on a spectrum. Some of us are avoiders, but we don't confront the person. So if Pete, I have a problem with you, I'm not going to tell you what my problem is, but I'll go to happy hour with my wife and I'm going to complain to my wife about you, right? Or I'll tell the dog that, oh, my employee Pete, I won't talk to you. That's a huge problem. But on the other end is we have these impulsives who will have a difficult conversation, but they'll shoot from the hip. They'll tell you, Pete, you're just not professional enough. That tends to ruin the relationship as well. In the middle is what I call a responder, who doesn't hold back, who doesn't shoot from the hip. That's why you choose the word responder. He or she doesn't react. They respond through a specific step. And if you do that, chances are you're actually going to end up building a better relationship by having a difficult conversation than the opposite.
That's great. Well, and I'm curious, does this also apply for the individual contributor who's thinking, oh, yeah, I want to share something with my manager, but I don't know if that's really going to go over well. I don't know if that's my place. Or could they yell at me or cast me out of their good graces or withhold cool opportunities from me? Within that zone, what's your perspective there?
Yeah, and that's a good question, and it's a tricky question. And the cop-out answer is, well, Pete, it depends. But you know what? We're going to lean in a little bit here. The same principle applies here, which is you want to confront the problem, but you want to confront the problem correctly. Now, the stakes are way higher if an employee confronts their manager than if a peer confronts another peer or if a manager confronts a direct report. But to answer your question, yes, I would still encourage a direct report to summon the courage and have that conversation. But Pete, I want to be very clear here. I don't want us to just whiff it. I want us to do it correctly at this point.
Well, how do we do it? Let's hear it. What's correctly mean?
Right. So what correctly means is we have to prep for it. And again, that's common sense, but that's not common practice. What happens is we keep avoiding it and then we just attack the person. It's like pinch, 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 and then crunch. And then it just, breaks the dam. That's not how you want to do this. So we're going to parse this a little bit here. We're going to first talk about how a manager can talk to an employee, and then we're going to flip this and do an employee to a manager. How does that sound?
Sure, yeah.
So if I'm a manager and Pete is my employee, Pete, you're a good person, but you're struggling in this example here. The first thing I want to do is before I tell you you're struggling, you're doing this thing incorrectly, or you need to step up, or you need to be more visible, the first thing I'm going to do, and this is a little controversial, is I'm going to take your permission before I even give you my feedback. Now, when I teach this, a lot of senior leaders are like, oh, are you asking me to take permission from my direct report before giving them feedback? And my answer is absolutely. The reason why taking permission is important is because I want us to level the playing field first. And if I come to Pete and I ask Pete, hey, I'm noticing certain things here, and I want to share those certain things with you, what's a good time for us to talk about it? Now, Pete, if you're just like any other human, your heart's going to beat a little faster. You're like, okay, maybe I'm in trouble. But regardless, if we've built a little bit of psychological safety, I am giving you a little bit of context, and I'm asking you, hey, man, let's talk about it when we're ready. Now, let me kind of add a story to this because it's important for us to understand the method behind this. So 2014, I was extremely sick. I was in the hospital for some really difficult surgeries. My wife was at work. My wife's boss knew I was going through some surgeries. My wife comes to the hospital and we're talking and she starts to cry. And I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, oh, my boss knows I'm really stressed out. He knows you're going through these difficult surgeries and you just laid into me, gave me all of this feedback. And, he's right. But I just wish he would have read the room a little bit. He would have waited before giving me that feedback, right? And I've never forgotten that moment. And yes, this is my wife, but I've heard this over and over again from people. But just, when my boss just came in on a Monday morning and just told me, and I just wish he would have asked me if I was ready to receive said feedback. So the first thing I do is level the playing field, ask for permission. Again, that's simple, common sense, but not common practice, right? That's step one.
I love it so much, Ali, right there, is that it's funny because I feel like I've had, a number of therapy sessions in my day and at times recurring. And what's so funny is the timing makes all the difference because I've been told, not to pat myself on the back, but that in certain contexts, like going to confession, literally the confession booth in a Catholic church, or therapy or whatever, it's like, we're going some places. It's vulnerable, it's sensitive, we're getting into it. And like, I will go all in, to use your terminology. I will go all in and say all the things that it's sort of like max vulnerable. And people seem, I guess, impressed, like that's rare. Or maybe they're just great at affirming me. But I've had those environments where it's like, oh, this is the time and place for us to go there, but this other person's holding back. And what's funny is for me, and it sounds like what you're saying is for many or even most professionals, the same principle is at work. It's like, we can get into it, but they want some prep, some heads up. So I got to get in the headspace. I've got the time, the energy, the emotional resilience, take on this challenge. Just like, well, hey, I'm warmed up. I'm wearing my gym clothes. So let's lift some heavy stuff. As opposed to, hey, man, can you help me move this couch? Like, oh, I guess I could. But it's much more unsettling when it's a surprise and you're not in the zone for it.
Right. And you use the word time and a place, and that's what's literally happening. Where, Pete, if you realize I am giving my employee more control by asking them, hey, we do it when it's the right time for you. That's really important. And I like the confessional example because when you're giving confession, you're actually you've chosen to do that, interestingly enough, right?
Yeah, it's true.
Right. In this dynamic, I'm giving you the choice here now at this point.
You're right. With regard to choosing, it's like, it's so true. It's like, oh, maybe I should go to confession. It's like, not today. I can't handle that today. Let's try maybe tomorrow.
Right, exactly. Now, I'm going to throw a curveball here. When I teach this, someone always asks, as an employee, can I say no to my boss? That today is not a good time. And in the book, I talk about this idea of establishing psychological safety first, which is if you're working with a manager who is a reasonable manager, they're going to respect your no. In fact, they're asking for the right reason. They're okay if you say no at this point. So the first step is let's get permission. It's easy. You don't even have to read the book to figure out how to ask for permission, right? The second step, Pete, people really skip this one all the time and it kills the conversation. The second step is before you tell me what you want to tell me, do me a favor and tell me why you want to tell me that. So you have to share your intention with me first. So let me give you an example of what that looks like. And this example comes from my life. This is what my boss did to me long time back. Well, I think this is 2005, 2006. I was part of a 4-person team. 3 people got promoted. I did not. That gutted me. I was like, I'm better than all these 3 people. How come they're getting promoted? I'm not. And this is San Francisco. I clearly remember around 1:30, my boss emails me. He calls me into his office and he says, I want to tell you why you didn't get promoted. And then he tells me, I have higher expectations from you. And I know you can meet them, but you haven't at this point. Here's what's going on. Now, if you think about that, what he did in that moment is he sided with me over the problem. He shared his intention before giving me a lot of the other bad news, right? So the first step was get permission. The second step is tell me your why or share your intention. Give me the why before you tell me the what. Now, as far as the third, fourth, and fifth is concerned, I'm going to give you a really simple framework. And I'm a simple guy, simple works. The framework is what, so what, now what. That's all you have to do. The what is going to be the specific challenge. So if Pete, you seem to be coming in late to our meetings, you're dialing in late, you're not showing up on time, that's the what here. Now, the mistake we make is instead of calling out Pete's specific behavior, we judge Pete.
He's lazy. He doesn't care about the team.
Right, we might think it, but Pete's checked out. Pete slacks off. Pete's not professional. The amount of people who've come to me telling me, oh, my boss just said I'm not professional, that's a judgment. That kills the conversation. Right?
And what's funny is you could also invent a judgment. I mean, these are just stories. That's positive. Well, Pete is having so many ingenious, revolutionary, innovative ideas in his creative deep work fugue states that, of course, it's to be expected that sometimes. So you just made that up too, but it's still a judgment and isn't serving anybody.
You're right. It is a judgment, but it's not serving me and it's not serving you. And when I make the judgment, here's what happens most of the time. My favorite is, you're not being strategic enough. What does that mean? I honestly do not know what that means. All I know is you've made a judgment.
You don't like it. It's a bad thing.
Right. So my guidance, and it's not my guidance, it's a phenomenal book called The Nonviolent Communication, NBC. Right?
Oh, Marshall, yeah.
And they talk about this idea of, judgment is like you're attacking the character of someone, and you don't intend to do it. You don't intend to do it. We're humans. We're messy. That's what happens. But if you want to become an all-in manager, you have to get better at these things, right? So I want you to be a little more specific. Then what you've done is once you've been a little specific, then tell me why I should care. What's the so what here? Pete, when you're late, or Pete, when you raise your voice. See, I almost caught myself. I know people can't see me, but Pete, I don't know if you saw me. I was going to say, Pete, when you're rude is a judgment. I corrected myself by saying, Pete, when you raise your voice is a behavior. When you raise your voice, the team stops contributing. That's the so what. And the now what is, Pete, can you tell me if this is something you're observing? Pete, can you tell me how we can correct this behavior? Or Pete, I need you to do this to correct that behavior. It's pretty simple here. You take permission, you tell me the why, the what, the so what, and the now what. Now, Pete, let me just slip one thing in. I will bet $1 that someone who's listening to this podcast is going to be like, this guy is telling me I got to do all of this to give feedback. I don't have a lot of time. And that person is correct. These steps that I just described to you are reserved for really difficult behavioral types of things. The other branch of constructive feedback is in the moment feedback where, if I see a Slack message from you or if you send me a slide and it's not great, I'm not going to go through the steps. I'm just going to tell you, hey, Pete, I saw a couple of typos. Maybe you want to fix X, Y, Z. That's in the moment. I don't have to go through all of these things. Behavioral feedback is the tough stuff. It's the stuff that gives us sleepless nights. It's the stuff that upsets us. It's the kind of stuff where people raise their voice or they're making a lot of mistakes or they're not being proactive. That's the heavy stuff that we kind of hold close. For those types of conversations, difficult conversations, these types of steps are almost necessary.
Well, and I hear you that you don't have to go through it every time. But I guess I'm also thinking what you've described doesn't sound like it takes a boatload of additional time. It seems like blocking off 10 minutes on your calendar with a legal pad to think through a little bit of these framework pieces, and you're good to go.
You're absolutely good to go. And Pete, if you want, we can actually add a little document to your show notes for your audience. It's literally a prep doc and it's 10 minutes. You got 10 minutes, I got 10 minutes.
Very good. Well, Ali, this is great stuff, specifically in the zone of feedback or difficult conversations. But could we zoom out a bit to hear the big picture? What is the big idea behind the All-In Manager?
Well, let me take a step back here. The reason why I wrote the All-In Manager was out of sheer frustration. I was really frustrated with a lot of leadership advice, which is very well-intentioned, but a lot of leadership advice, I find at least, is designed or written for the ideal world. I wanted to write a book for the real world. I wanted to write a book which was a problem-solving manual of sorts. I don't know about you, but Pete, I've been to enough leadership conferences where the person on the stage talks about, and then we scaled Mount Everest. And that's cool. That's inspirational. But what I want to know is, how do I have a very difficult performance review with someone I like? I need to fix a problem today. I don't need the pie in the sky stuff. That was one of the reasons why I wrote the book. But I want to explain to your audience what I mean by the term all-in manager, because anyone can use the word all-in. For us to understand what I mean by the word all-in manager, we have to first understand what is an accidental manager. An accidental manager is someone who was given the promotion to lead others without any training, coaching, mentoring. They were just given the job because they were really good as individual contributors. Nearly 2/3 of managers are accidental. I'm an accidental manager. Now, what's the problem with that? The problem isn't that you're an accidental manager. The problem is they remain stuck as accidental. They stop learning. They stop growing because they get so busy. But here's the dangerous part. They start winging it. They start winging leadership. They're like, well, I know how to do this. I'll just do it like my boss does it. An all-in manager is someone that rejects that status quo. An all-in manager is not a guru. I can't stand that term. An all-in manager isn't a charismatic leader who never says ums or ahs. None of that. An all-in manager is a human being just like you and I. But an all-in manager does three things exceptionally well. And Pete, the language is going to matter. Number one, an all-in manager personally cares about the success of their people. Common sense, not common practice. Two, an all-in manager is an insatiable learner. I didn't say a learner, I said insatiable learner. And the third thing, which is my favorite, is an all-in manager is responsible to drive meaningful results. I did not say results. I said meaningful results. There's a huge difference between results and meaningful results. Now, here's the caveat. You can't have one or two. You need all three. You need all three to go all in at this point.
Yeah, that checks out very nicely in terms of my experience and in my own world, in terms of like people will tell me when I'm making conversation, oh, what do you do? It's like, oh, I have a podcast. Oh, cool. What podcast? How to be awesome at your job? Well, hell, Pete, haha, how do I be awesome at my job? That's the one word answer is care. In terms of if you're invested in
right.
Your product, your service, your offer, your customer, your shareholders, your team, your process, then I mean, it all flows from that. And when you don't, it's like, well, you could just sort of go through the motions for a while until you get fired or you retire, but it's not going to be magically transformative for anybody on any dimension.
Right. Caring is such a core component of this. It's like you can be brilliant, but you can be a brilliant jerk as well. And I don't know if a lot of people want to work for a brilliant jerk. So in the book, I talk about this idea of trust. And again, trust is so, we all think we know it. But when you ask someone to define what trust is, we're like, oh, it can be a little nebulous. In all the research around trust, what I find is caring pops up a lot. And for your audience, I want us to contrast what I mean by caring here. The easy definition of caring is you care for me. You're good to me. You're kind to me. That's half of the coin here. The other half is you care enough about me to tell me the truth. That's the hard part because we know a lot of people who care, but they care only to tell us the positive stuff. But when it comes to having the difficult conversations, they're like, oh, they might get offended. No, when my definition of caring is you care enough about me so much that you tell me, Ali, you need to step up. But caring is not that easy. I'll give you a story again from the book. I worked with the head of HR a long time back. This is again during those days when I wasn't feeling well, and she called me, she checked in on me to find out how I was doing. Again, a head of HR, normal stuff for a head of HR. We have a nice conversation, a pleasant conversation. This is Google Hangout. We finished the phone call on the Hangout. She calls me again after 5 minutes, and I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, hey, I just wanted you to know I called our insurance company and I enrolled you into this concierge service. I had no idea what she was talking about. I'm like, well, what is that? She's like, well, I know you've been really sick. This service is going to help you get to the right people faster. And if you've been sick, it's difficult to go through the hospital maze and all of that. And it took her 2 minutes to do that. It's been 11 years since then. I haven't forgotten. That is an example of an all-in leader, someone who cares enough for their people to go the extra mile, right? Common sense, but not common practice.
I remember, during the COVID time, it was tricky. And my wife was sort of sick and out of commission. And then it was the first time that I was kind of solo duty with the two kids for, a week plus contiguously. And it's like, oh my gosh. And then someone I was working with sent me a variety of kids' toys activities. They're like, these will be of assistance to you. And it was magical. The kids liked them. But more than that was, here's a human being who genuinely put himself into my shoes like, oof, in that context, it is tough.
Hmm.
And I can't do a whole lot. We're not in the same city, but here's something I can do. And it made an impact.
It sticks with you. And it's funny, you hear these incredible stories that happen to us in our personal lives. These types of stories happen in professional lives as well, but I would love to see a world or to live in a world where they happen a lot. I'll tell you when, since you inspired me to share a story here, our dog died last year.
Sorry.
He was 17. And, we're in Chicago. Chicago gets pretty cold during the wintertime. And my sister-in-law, who lives in Michigan, travels a lot, sent us this really cool, flavorful soup with ladles. And it was an incredible gift. Soup is soup, but it was so meaningful at the end.
Yeah.
And that's the world of work sometimes is devoid of that. And Pete, I tell you, that is my definition of an all-in manager who does these types of things for their people. Because, man, why would I follow you? Why do I give you the gift of leading me when you don't do these things for me? You have to do those things for me, especially now.
And this is a really good, feel-good, positive vibe, and I want to reinforce that and to not pervert it or twist it for mercenary ends. But this is triggering for me a memory of in Bob Cialdini's, I think it's his book, Persuasion. He talks about even people who are war prisoners, when given a super thoughtful, relevant, useful gift, or maybe it was informants, or maybe both, that's sufficient. But you know what? That was so awesome. I'm cool trading my company or my country or my regime to be of service to you, U.S. soldier, because it's beautiful and it's powerful on a human emotional heart level. And of course, do it with a pure intention as opposed to I'm going to get something out of this person. But it's impactful.
Yeah. And since we're talking about impact and positive vibes, I would be remiss if I didn't say that we started with difficult conversations and feedback. But here's the thing. When I write the book, the chapter on feedback doesn't start with constructive. It doesn't. I made a deliberate choice not to start. I wanted to start with positive feedback. And there are two reasons. Because humans change best by feeling good about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And the second is if you are the type of leader who gives genuine recognition, your constructive feedback is going to land that much better, because now I know when I drop the ball or when I do something good, Pete gives me really great recognition. And when I drop the ball, Pete is always the first one to tell me, man, you got to pick that up. However, in the world of work, positive feedback is warped. We think we're doing it correctly. Some of us are, but most of us are not. And we can dive into what correct or rich recognition looks like. But my point is, if you see something good, say something good. And by the way, for the individual contributors listening to this podcast, if you see your boss doing something good, let them know. Empathy only flows down. It needs to flow up as well. And every time I've sent a note to the CEO saying, hey, I really liked the presentation, the response was like, oh my God, thank you. That makes me feel great. Because no one does that, right? So be a different person. And if you see something good, call them out. Don't catch people doing wrong things all the time. Catch them doing good things and let them know as well.
Very good. Yes, thank you. Well, you got a cool subtitle, Become a Better Leader Today, Not Someday. I want to hear about that thoughtful choice. Do we fall into a someday trap at our peril?
Yeah, it's a hot take. I think there's a myth that it takes decades and decades to do this. I think that you can do small things today to start leading today. And Pete, I'm going to give you an example, because if people are skeptical, that's good. You're in the right place, because I want to build my case here. When I teach people how to do one-on-ones, I'll tell them, hey, you know what? Next time when you're having a one-on-one with your direct report, don't go in asking what's the status on this or that. You can do that, but don't do it all the time. Maybe today what you do is you ask Pete, if Pete is your direct report, Pete, what is top of mind for you today? Or Pete, what is it that you want to talk about today? Pete, it's such a small thing. right? Even when I teach this, I'm like, no one would care. But what shocks me is after a couple of weeks, people come back and they're like, oh my God, Ali, I tried that. And for the first time, my direct report started to talk to me. It was their meeting. They seemed a little more engaged. So that is leadership. You get to do that today. I'll give you another example of how you get to lead today, which is, managers, and I've made this mistake all the time. I love giving advice. And I thought giving advice was me being helpful. But Pete, I don't know if you worked with with an executive coach or a therapist. What does a good therapist do? They're drawing something out of you. They're asking you really good questions. So challenge yourself that in my next one-on-one, instead of defaulting to giving advice, I'm just going to ask a question, or I'm going to ask a follow-up question. And it's these small tune-ups or small changes that you can make that will allow you to become a better leader today, not someday.
And what's intriguing is when you ask what's top of mind for you, and Ollie, if I may, this is we're tuning up precise verbiage and phraseology. If people feel that's a little too corporate-y or consultant-y,
Sure.
Do you have some synonymous phrases for what's top of mind for you today?
Totally. Wow, man, I'm like a corporate person now. That is interesting. I'll tell you. Got any hot topics?
Yeah. Got any hot topics?
Yeah.
Okay. I like it. Yeah.
What's got you occupied this week? Yeah.
I'm thinking about the mall store hot topic right now. It's like, yeah, I've got a black fedora, Ollie. But what's great about that is it opens up exactly what you want in terms of you might get a response about work, you might get a response about not work. For example, what's top of mind for me is we had a pipe burst.
There you go.
In this house, and it's a whole situation with remediation and reconstruction. And so that is top of mind. And so it's quite possible that, in a professional context, a manager would have no idea that that's occurring in my life. And yet that it's consuming a substantial amount of my mental, emotional energy. And then that opens up any number of cool things in terms of, oh, well, I know an amazing contractor, or, oh, shucks, that sounds terrible. Is your family, are they in a good spot? Well, hey, I've got some hotel points. Yeah, whatever. It could go any number of opportunities to at least be a little bit more considerate and understanding about what you're putting on their plate, or at most say, oh, I just so happen to have an extremely appropriate and valuable something that I can contribute into your life.
Right. And we're going to stick with the pipe burst because I love that example. Now, imagine I use the question, what's going on? Instead of, hey, what's happening with this thing? And the person says, it's wintertime and our pipe burst and it's been a whole mess. And now I know we have a project due today. And now I know, hey, maybe are you okay to do this? Do we want to extend the deadline? Do you see how the pipe burst leans into work?
Yeah, totally.
That's the beauty of this, because if my pipe bursts, but I didn't tell my manager and I said, hey, you know what, I'm really struggling today. I can't do this. And my reasoning as a manager is like, well, you had 2 weeks to do this. What's the problem? Now I have more context about the situation. And when you have context, the next line of inquiry becomes way easier. Now, I just want to be mindful here, right? These one-on-ones aren't going to be about personal things all the time. Most of the time, they're going to be about work, and that's okay. They should be about work. But that's why in the book, I talk about the 3 Ps. Sorry, I'm a learning and development guy. There's always going to be 3 Ps, right? Priorities, position, and person. Person is the pipe burst. Position is a career conversation. And by the way, you're not going to have it every week, not even every month, maybe once a quarter, once in 6 months. But typically, all your one-on-ones are going to be about priorities. What is the big thing you're working on, and where do you need my help? What are some of your blockers? How can I help you, reduce some of your blockers? That's a good one-on-one right here. But let's not forget that there is a person behind the title, and pipes burst in life. That's also what happens.
Yeah, well said. Well, Ali, tell me, any final things you really want to make sure to mention before we hear about some of your favorite things?
We spoke a lot about these difficult conversations. My wish is that We do have those difficult conversations, but I think the easiest thing we can do is find one person in our orbit, on our team or our peer or our manager, and just give them some very specific recognition. Not just, hey, you're great. You know what? That's good. If you've never said that, I'll take it. But something which is specific, something which is timely, something which is sincere. It could be a handwritten note. It could be an email. It could be a thoughtful Slack message. I'm telling you, and I know this sounds so simple, but I just don't see it in the world of work as much as I would like for it to see. So the one thing I would advise or request everyone listening to this, the simplest thing you can do, if you see something good, say something good and make it specific.
Big thanks to Ollie for sharing his wisdom with us. And big thanks to our sponsors. Check them out. One sponsor to check out is Monarch. One of my financial goals for 2026 is reducing expenses in the most painless way possible. And well, managing your money doesn't have to be a struggle this year. Monarch is a gorgeous personal finance tool that makes your money life easier. It brings your whole money picture from budgets to accounts and transactions and investments into one super handy dashboard on your phone or laptop. I was such a fan of the old Mint.com and was super bummed when it disappeared. But the good news, though, is Monarch was founded by a team that includes the original product manager of Mint. And I dare say it's even better. I like the graphical summaries that help me drill down into things quickly and easily, and it helps me get to the bottom of anything that just seems a little weird or off and cool opportunities. In fact, Monarch helped the average user save over $200 per month after joining. So this new year, achieve your financial goals for good. Monarch is the all-in-one tool that makes proactive money management simple all year long. Use code AWESOME at monarch.com for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with the code AWESOME. All right. Well, now could you share a favorite quote, something you found inspiring?
I'll give you a line. It comes from this book by David Brooks. I think the book is How to Know a Person. And he says, the whole world has diminishers and illuminators. And diminishers are people who will diminish your light. They won't give you the recognition. They won't tell you the encouraging thing, or they won't send Pete toys or something. Illuminators are people that will take the smallest of things and they'll amplify it. So in a world of diminishers, you want to be an illuminator.
Beautiful. And could you share a favorite study or experiment or piece of research?
Yeah, so the favorite research comes from Stanford, and this was done in 1990. This research is called Tappers and Listeners. And Pete, when I wrote this in the book, I thought no one would care. This is one of the most highlighted passages in the book, which blows my mind. It's a cool study. So in 1990, I forget the name of the researcher. The researcher came up with two groups of people, tappers and listeners. She told the tappers, your job is to tap a well-known tune like Happy Birthday or Jingle Bells. We're in Christmas season. And the listeners were supposed to guess the tune. Simple. The tappers thought that the listeners would guess the tune at least 50% of the time. Any idea what the percentage is of the listeners guessing the actual tune?
You know, I haven't read the full text of this study, but I remember from people talking about it, it's way low. It's way less than 50%.
Right. It's 3%. The accurate figure is 2.6 or 2.7. Why am I sharing this with you? I am sharing this with you because if you're a manager, you are a tapper. And if you're an employee, you're a listener. What do I mean by that? A lot of managers, present company included, I'm raising my hand, we think that our employees listen to the melody inside of our heads. They don't. They don't. We have to make the implicit, I'm pointing to my head right now, we have to make the implicit explicit. We have to tell our people what we expect them to do. The tappers and listeners study hopefully is something that captures your imagination and it reminds you that I have to do a better job of communicating my standards and my expectations with the people who report into me.
Very good. And a favorite book?
I absolutely love this book. This book is called Zen and the Art of Firefighting. It's written by a firefighter, this incredible firefighter who talks about life and leadership from the lens of an actual firefighter. It's a great book. It's going to make you a better leader, regardless of whether you have thousands of people who report into you or you have none. It's a phenomenal book as well.
Mm-hmm. And a favorite tool?
I'm not going to give you any AI tools, but I will tell you, I am not a podcaster like you, not even close, but I do love Descript because that is the only tool that has actually saved me hours and hours upon work. I lied. I have to mention one AI tool. The Google tool Notebook LLM, I think is very cool. It does a lot of cool visuals. I'm a fan of it.
And is there a particular nugget you share that really connects and resonates and people quote back to you often?
Well, there are two things. The difficult conversation line, if I hear you correctly, that resonates a lot with people, especially people who are conflict averse. And the second thing that I hear a lot from people is the idea that we've been taught that giving an answer is an act of value or of helpfulness. That is incorrect. Sometimes listening and asking a question is also an act of value. I think it gives people permission to not just fix things, but to listen, observe, empathize, and stay curious.
And the first one you said was just the phrase itself, if I'm hearing you correctly?
Yeah, difficult conversations don't ruin relationships. Avoiding them often does. Yeah. That sticks a lot. I think it kind of rhymes a little bit to a certain extent, but I love it. I've been a conflict averse person for a majority of my life. And after I discovered this, I'm like, wow, I can do this. I can have a difficult conversation without hurting someone. I can be direct. I can be kind. And from my personal experience, I've learned that you get to build a better relationship if you have those types of conversations. Now, I just want to also be clear here. I'm not using the word candor. Candor is a good word. Unfortunately, it's been hijacked by a lot of people for saying whatever the heck they want to say. Oh, I was just being candid. No, candid is you being direct and you being kind at the same time. You can hold someone accountable while being empathetic. That is not like a mutually exclusive deal you make. You can do both at the same time. In fact, if you want to become an elite leader, you have to learn to do both at the same time.
Okay. And if folks want to learn more or get in touch, where would you point them?
allinmanager.com, one word. That site will take you to my book. They can find me on LinkedIn, Ali Merchant. The book is available on Kindle. It's available on paperback. It's available on hardcover. One thing, a shameless plug, if I may, if you get the book, chapter 2 will give you access to all the tools, all the templates, all the bonuses, all the fun stuff.
Cool. And do you have a final challenge or call to action for folks looking to be awesome at their jobs?
I'm going to double down on what I said, which is next week or in the new year, make a plan to find one person in your orbit, go to them and share rich recognition with them. One person, make that into a ritual of yours. Don't have to do it every week. Do it once a month. Your life will meaningfully improve if you become the person who looks for the good in people and calls it out.
All right. Ali, thank you.
This was so much fun. I appreciate you.
I love so much of what Ali had to say about asking for the permission to do that feedback piece. Just have a little bit of that heads up, that time, that space, that groove, that vibe. It's like, oh, okay, we can go here. And then it's a much better situation as opposed to dumping on them at the absolute worst time, which is bad for both parties. Great stuff from Ali. If you want to check out the show notes or the transcript or the links to items that we've referenced, please drop on by awesomeatyourjob.com/EP1121. Hope to catch you next time, and peace.
Fall is all about cozy comforts, and with Hero Bread, you can enjoy all your favorites and still hit your health goals. From breakfast bagels and meal prepped enchiladas to mouth-watering burgers and cheesy noodles. You won't believe Hero Bread's options have 0 to 5 grams net carbs and are high fiber from the taste and texture. And right now, Hero Bread is offering 10% off your order. Go to hero.co and use code FALL25 at checkout. That's FALL25 at hero.co. All figures are per serving of Hero Bread. Contains 2 to 18 grams of fat per serving. See the product nutrition panels on hero.co for more information.